I remember everyone used to took the role of a dry fruit. Huh? There was a kaju, there was a kismis,
like what kind of conversations do kaju and kishmish have? Like that was the idea.
Advertising becomes like a huge monetization lever, and for advertising to become a huge monetization lever, you need a lot of scale first. Chatroom provided a safe space for women because it was a public thing, and so there was not a lot of chances of creepiness that men can sort of come and do. And a person A has sent like 100 rupees of gift. The person B can see that, and the person B will like, no, I will give 150 rupees of gift. Like basically December was 2x November, Jan was 2x December, Feb was 2x. Like it went on a sort of hyper exponential curve. Hello everyone, welcome to Great Work Podcast. I am Nishad.
And I am Ayush. I know what you're thinking, another podcast with a lot of high level gyan. We aim to be different, and let us tell you how. So over the course of our journey working in the Indian startup ecosystem, either building companies or starting something of our own, we have realized that a lot of great problem solving happens inside the organizations and no one really talks about it. Even now, most operators, they are just busy operating but not really like talking about this because they are just busy.
That's true, and that's exactly what we want to change. We want to bring out such stories of excellent problem solving from within the Indian orgs. Who cracked Zomato's social media? Who cracked Zepto's dark stores? Or even Pocket FM's US consumer growth? These are not easy to find stories, and we think through our podcast we can help these stories come out and help all the operators and founders out there. Okay, so let's begin.
So for our first episode, we'll keep it very simple. We're gonna talk with about Nishad's journey.
And talk about dog fooding your own startup.
so we're gonna talk about Nishad's journey at like how he scaled multiple products. But before that, Nishad, why don't you give like a brief intro about your career?
Yeah, so I'm a product of IIT Bombay and I am Ahmedabad. Joined BCG straight after. Realized consulting is not for me. Moved to Udaan, did strategy and 0 to 1 scaling businesses there. And after that I moved to ShareChat, was doing product roles there, responsible for revenue, retention across different charters. Finally ventured out on my own and started up, and currently on a break.
So today we're going to talk about one of your the works that you are like very proud of, which is the 0 to 1 scaling in ShareChat for the Chatrooms product.
Yeah.
So let's start there without like any further ado. So can you just describe like the situation in which you started working on the product? Like what was it all about?
Sure. So let me explain what Chatrooms basically is. So if you remember in 2020 during COVID, there was a product called Clubhouse which got famous. Twitter Spaces is a similar product. Essentially, you can join sort of a virtual room and you can speak and others will listen. So think of it like an online version of an offline room essentially. So that was audio chat rooms. When I joined ShareChat, we were just in the product, like in the phase of making this chat rooms, like the engineers were already working on this. So in my first week, after the end of my first week, we launched the first version of chat rooms. And in the first 30 days, we were just scrambling to control a lot of the moderation and the gali galoch that was happening on the chat rooms.
Yeah, early launches.
Yeah, so that was my first 30 days essentially.
Got it. So like, what was the thesis behind this product? Like, why was ShareChat trying to build it? I know it was COVID, but still, why an audio platform?
So yeah, I mean, there were two things. One is there was like the general social aspect of connecting people through different online products, etc., was definitely there. And this kind of products were famous, or I would not say famous, but they were there in small subcultures in the Chinese ecosystem, and they were not mainstream in India then. The timing was really right because of COVID, and that's when we decided to sort of launch this product.
Understood. And like for both like me and like the people to understand, like what would a typical ShareChat user be like?
Yeah. So ShareChat basically just to give a sense of ShareChat scale at that point, it had 200 million plus monthly active users. In some states like Tamil Nadu, it was like 50% of Tamil Nadu's internet population. So really huge scale. Essentially, that meant that you had people from across different segments, urban, rural, etc. But heavily tilted towards, I would say, suburban or low to middle class sort of income households. Yeah.
Got it. So let's like talk about like I know you launched and everything, but like after that initial launch and more firefighting, how did you then figure out, okay, like the product is launched, maybe we are fixing bugs, all that is sorted, what next? And like how did you like actually try to problem solve this?
Yeah, so I mean, for any new product, the way we thought about it is that it has to be net additive to the ShareChat app or the ecosystem, which essentially meant that it has to have a certain amount of adoption within the ecosystem, like X percentage of ShareChat's users should use it. That X for our case was basically we wanted to go to more than 10% of ShareChat's user base using it. And on an overall level, we wanted the retention of the product to be at least equal or more than ShareChat's retention, in which case it's net additive. So that was the idea. We were working on this path itself in like starting from March 2020. Thankfully, a great Black Swan event happened in June 2020, where a lot of Chinese apps got banned in the ecosystem, and that basically meant that we achieved whatever we wanted to achieve in terms of adoption in 1 year in just less than 3 months.
Interesting. So, but was there some audio Chinese app which you kind of took over, or like because, yeah. So,
yeah, that is true. So there were some audio Chinese apps also at that time, and we did see traffic from that. Apart from some organic traffic also coming in. So because TikTok got banned, a lot of people, TikTok and it also had its sort of sister product which was very similar to ShareChat. So both got banned, and that resulted in a lot of traffic on the ShareChat app overall, which also flew into Chatrooms.
Understood. But in terms of percentage wise also that like made a difference, like because if you're looking at ShareChat's user and then adoption was a percentage of that. So was it more the acquisition that you got from the Chinese app ban which helped you, or was it like I'm a little confused?
Yeah, sure. So initially we saw a huge spike, and I think that initial spike was also because of the overall ShareChat app sort of coming in. After 1 week, we saw numbers stabilizing. So that stable number was more or less because of the Chinese apps getting sort of banned, and not as much because of the overall traffic, because that had stabilized in 1 week.
Got it. So if I understand correctly, you did get an acquisition bump.
Yeah.
But even post that, the product itself has like some amount of healthy adoption and retention, right?
That's true.
So maybe like let's try to go deeper. So this retention that you had in the product, right? Like I don't know if you can give us numbers, that will be great. And even with those numbers, like what was the use case that it was trying to solve, like, or what was it solving actually?
Yeah. So we saw a lot of interesting. Like I said, I think the initial hypothesis was more to like just for people in COVID who are not able to meet offline, sort of have connect like with other people, etc. And we saw a lot of interesting use cases emerge from that. So we saw that there were people who were treating it as a friends kind of an adda, where they used to come to that chat room every day at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. and then talk for 2-3 hours, talk about their daily life, do some comedy, and go home. There was also this talent kind of a use case where a lot of people used to have like Antakshari and Shairi competitions on the chat rooms. So that was also interesting. I remember one story where there was a user from Dubai who was narrating how he wasn't able to visit India because of COVID and his mother was alone, etc. So a lot of emotional sort of bonding also happened. And I think the third use case was also that because this was a public space, this was also an opportunity for men to sort of talk to women online, and women also felt safer because it was like a public space, so there was less chances of creepiness in that sort of space. Yeah.
Interesting. So the three use cases I heard were dating. Second was talent and emotional connection.
Yeah.
Talent is actually different, and the first one was more like a friends adda.
Friends or sort of friends leading to an identity sort of use case where you start out because I mean you have friends there, but then this is your space. Like for example, I mean for us when we were growing up, it was like there was like a shop outside school where you used to hang out. So that shop also becomes an important part of that identity, not just the friends.
Correct.
Similarly, the chat room also became an important part of that identity.
Yeah. I think this was like something very similar, like the coffee shack at IIT.
Yeah.
I think that was the adda. That's Neski and Bonda. So out of these three use cases, were they all equal, or like was there something that was like standing out very clearly?
Yeah, I think talent was the smallest. Also because I mean not everyone can sing or wants to sing publicly, etc. So those kind of things. Amongst the other two, like sort of dating was the major one, and they were sort of conflated in the sense that if a chat room has, let's say, 2 women and 6 sort of men, so we had like 8 speaker slots in chat room. So essentially, if all those slots are filled, you had 8 people sort of speaking. So if there are like 2 women and 6 men, it's also a friend group, but also someone is trying to woo someone else. So, so it's like a mixed thing. Yeah.
Okay. So like now that you figured out these 2 use cases and that's why you're retaining users, how did you use this information to go forward?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, our initial goal was more about adoption within ShareChat, and when we hit those numbers because of the ban, we realized this might be a good sort of point to think about monetization and start monetization experiments. So that was an important sort of strategic shift in the product, and we spent like 2.5 months essentially conceptualizing and building and launching the first version of monetization.
Sorry for interrupting. So before we go there, just want to understand, while you had some adoption goals and some retention goals, why did you think that like that was good enough that like you don't want to work on this and now you want to move on monetization? I think there's a problem which a lot of operators face as to like which area to focus on, right? Like so shifting for example, like for an early product especially, from a retention or adoption lens and then moving to monetization means that maybe there was like some understanding. So what like made you confident that okay, this is enough and like let me move over monetization now?
Yeah, I think a few things. Like one is the nature of the product. So this is not like core ShareChat product where we know that like advertising becomes like a huge monetization lever, and for advertising to become a huge monetization lever, you need a lot of scale first. This was a slightly sort of more social use case than a content use case. Let me put it that way. Right. ShareChat is predominantly a content use case, right? So we realized that the nature of the product is different. So we are not looking at only advertising or scale of advertising in terms of monetization. The other thing was also that we realized that because dating and these use cases are more prominent, maybe we can try and monetize this early. So this was also like sort of you can say that we thought we'll be able to monetize this sooner than the rest of the ShareChat product, like in the same use cases, and hence we went ahead with the experimentation.
Got it. So is like just asking, was monetization a part of you proving PMF to the founder, saying that only if monetization happens then this product is a success, or how did that conversation go like?
Yeah, I mean, at that point it was very clear that this product has to be monetized. I mean, because we had anyway taken this like sort of call of shifting the direction. So it was more like how do we monetize and what will ensure that we will sort of be a success. The way we sort of started going about it was there are different sort of things if you are not looking at advertising. There's consumer subscriptions, microtransactions, etc. Consumer subscriptions at that point was completely dead in India. Like there was like no sort of bullishness whatsoever. And we also thought that maybe this is not the product where people will sort of pay a subscription for. But microtransactions was interesting because we saw that in such social behaviors, especially in platforms like Twitch, microtransactions have worked really well. At that time, YouTube Super Chat was also taking off, which is also another sort of behavior of microtransactions. We thought this might be an interesting way to sort of monetize and go ahead. Yeah.
So, like, just summarizing, so you said that you tried to make a social product using voice. You saw good adoption, decent retention. Then you decided with the founders that probably monetization is the way to go, and like this is not a platform where the scale will be as high, so ad revenue may not be the way to go. So you figured out like what were the different avenues in which you could monetize.
That's correct.
Right,
Yeah.
and like you like researched about monetization from different products. Mostly, I'm hearing international products, Twitch, YouTube, like at least international.
Yeah.
One thing that like kind of sticks out to me is like tier 2 Indian TG known for like the India 3, India 2 audience, and you're trying to here. So at this point of time, there are two questions that come to my mind. One is what use case you wanted to monetize, and the second was the monetizability of the users that you are effectively catering to, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with the first one, and probably over there also you mentioned two things. One was the dating use case, and the second was the friends adda use case. So maybe like picking up from there.
Yeah. So so what use case to monetize out of this three? So like there were some examples in the talent use case, by the way. Like there was Mule kind of apps in India which are monetizing some bit in terms of the singing use cases also. But we thought it was a very niche segment, so we didn't like sort of go through that route. So for us, it was like either of the first or the second. Amongst the two, we thought that dating is a much more stronger sort of need, and hence has more monetization potential. And that is why we chose that use case to go after. Yeah.
So can you probably describe dating better, right? Like because just for the audience that like you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a useful qualification. So so if you see like tier 1 or metro audiences or sort of middle and upper class audiences, there's not a lot of taboo around meeting women offline, etc.
Yeah.
But that's not the case in lower income groups in the cities or suburban and sort of rural areas where like meeting people of the opposite gender is not so easy. Like it has like some societal friction attached to it, which essentially means that like people look for such sort of meetings online, where they can talk to sort of people of the opposite gender and befriend them and sort of just have a conversation, because like I mean growing up or even after they have started working, a lot of the times they have not had like a proper conversation with like women of the opposite gender.
Yeah.
So that is what I mean by dating, and the reason it became so powerful in a chat room context is because chat room provided a safe space for women because it was a public thing, and so there was not a lot of chances of creepiness that men can sort of come and do, and hence women also felt safer talking to sort of men in that context. So that is the use case that we thought about monetizing.
Interesting. I think this idea of not being able to speak to the opposite gender, or I think at least when we were also growing up, probably things were like a little difficult, right? Like if you like go speak to a girl and then everyone in the class starts hooting. So that kind of an atmosphere still like usually when most of us grew up and like we went outside, we were lucky to be in environments where this was not taboo.
Yeah.
But like I think most of the ShareChat audience is still in that kind of a situation where this is still like a huge problem, right? Like that's is that a good qualification?
That's true. And I mean one interesting sort of anecdote is a lot of people do not have even their own sort of phones or accounts on ShareChat, right? Like they are using their parents' phones, like especially for teenagers. I mean, not so true for like 25-plus-year-old audiences, but so that also is a so it's a very interesting behavior, which I mean, like you and me can't so, like don't see around us a lot.
There's like SMSs in those early days where there's only one phone in the family.
Yeah.
So I think there's a relatability, but I don't think I can relate at it at this stage of where we are. So got it. Like, so even in the dating use case, I understand that like the meeting part happens over there. But what about this use case is exactly monetizable?
Yeah, so the way we thought about monetizing this is that inherently dating is a status game across all kinds of segments. So for an urban audience, it might mean giving like more expensive gifts or buying popcorns at PVR. Or and in the like in the tier 2 or like other segment also there is definitely a status play because there is definitely competition, like women hold the stronger sort of side of the position, and that leads to men competing for women's attention, I mean in all of these segments actually. So the way we sort of thought about monetizing is it is just replicating the offline behavior of gifting.
Okay.
So if you like someone, at some point you give that person to show your intention of and give attention to that person, and that I think is what we basically thought that this can work probably in the online context as well. The reason it becomes even interesting in a chat room context is because everything is public. It's not like a one-on-one gift, so it also becomes competitive. I mean, like publicly.
Yeah.
So you know that if a person A has sent like 100 rupees of gift, the person B can see that, and the person B will like, no, I will give 150 rupees of gift. So there is a competition sort of built in because of the public nature of chat rooms, which we also thought might be interesting to tap into.
Oh, that's a super interesting use case to look into. So how did you like? And so the other question also which I had was like the monetizability, right? Like I think in terms of the tier 2 Indian people, it's like usually very difficult for most people to build businesses. The Indus Valley report says India 2, India 3 unmonetizable, very difficult to monetize rather.
Yeah.
The value needs to be super strong. So like obviously before you launched the monetization, how did you think about this, or was this even a concern?
I think it's slightly outstretched, and now we are seeing enough examples. But even then, we had this thesis that for the right things, I think even tier 2 audiences like sort of pay a lot. You see English speaking education or astrology or cricket or even some of the segments basically. So you do see a lot of sort of money spent there. So I mean India overall, if you look at India, it will look like a Dow farm, but that's not true in the right sort of pockets or segments. And so for us, we thought that this was one of those pockets where maybe we can monetize. And after that, it was, and like yeah, all of these are leading sort of indicators. I mean, we ultimately execute and figure out, and like these are all hypotheses. So we don't know.
No, obviously makes sense. So just like because we are talking about this hypothesis in a 0 to 1 product made me think about alignments, right? Like so again, I'm assuming you were a small 0 to 1 team, relatively small, right? Like that's the general assumption. So how did you like? What was your team research like? How many people? How did you usually align with the CEO? How did like basically a little more about the org structure before we move on to the big story like of monetization?
Yeah, so I mean, Chatrooms as a team was fairly independent from rest of the org. We were 14 people. I was the PM. There were 2 product analysts, 1 designer, and the rest of them are engineers. And I love that bunch. So we used to work fairly independently. The good part about it was we didn't have any shared resources with the rest of ShareChat org to slow us down. So we were shipping really, really fast. All of these 14 people will attest to like 1 week sprints initially. But yeah, so that was the team structure, and then I was reporting to the head of product at ShareChat, and then who used to report to Ankush. So that was the overall org structure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And because like again you were doing this being the PM who is trying to ship super quickly, how did you like align in some sense all these people? Was it like more vision and everything, or was it just like more free flowing? How did it like feel like?
Yeah, I mean, I think initially vision थोड़े time बाद आता है. I think like this was not like day one पे, it was not like vision से ही alignment. This was more like because it was also, we were also independent, etc. So we liked our space, so that inherently gave us some team bonding, etc. initially. And then when we actually started seeing successes on Chatroom, like first seeing a DAO increase and then later also monetization sort of increases, then it became more like, oh, now there is a like vision, now there is a strategy, now there is a product that can grow very fast. But there, like, the road was not without its bumps, I would say. So to tell you an interesting story, so we launched the first version of monetization in September 2020. Didn't get a lot of revenue. Even October was meh. And then October, I remember October and like first week of November, there were like these conversations with the head of product and Ankush, and we're like, is this going to work? If it's not going to work, let's just shut it down. Maybe this is not working, and we'll try something else. So I was of the belief that we should give like a few more months. I think this will work, kind of thing. But it was hard to like sort of convince the other 13 members also, because I mean they were also feeling it that this is not working. So what do we do? I think eventually because of a few product decisions, we didn't end up on the right side of money. But there were definitely obstacles on the way.
And how did you like, because the test of the true team is usually when there's no growth and things are going bad, and then you have to like kind of first keep yourself energized and then like probably transfer that energy to your team. So like any tactical tips that you would share here?
Yeah, I think for me, because I think I believed that this will work, or like it's too soon to say like bye bye types. So I think that was like, that belief showed, I guess, to the team as well. And I think that was the biggest sort of factor. The other factor was also, I think the great part about the team was that they asked some great questions in a lot of this like sort of meetings, where like, why are we doing this? Why, like, how do we know this will work? Which also enforced a lot of thought clarity. And I think that also informed the roadmap, I think, much better. So yeah, I would say a combination of these two factors worked really well. Yeah.
Got it. And again, just to probably like go deep one level more. So how was like the review structures and like the operating processes? Because like in a 0 to 1 setup, you're both working fairly fast, but at the same time you still need to work with the CPO and the CEO and like all those people, right? Like, so how did that go like?
Yeah, I mean, we had bi-weekly meetings with the CPO, and then I think monthly meeting with Ankush at that point, where it was more about like learnings and revenue and what is getting monetized, what is not getting monetized, like sort of like essentially like key learnings, and is this in the right direction? Do we need to course correct and all of that? Yeah, that was more or less the thing. I think initially, if I remember correctly, in October and November, more than product, I think the major problem there was ops. So because we also had to manage this entire, I would say, a lot of these people run the chat rooms. Like there are hosts of the chat rooms which are also running the chat rooms, and we had to streamline some of these operations on the host side or the supply side of the product. Which I think after streamlining after like 2-3 months, like also contributed a lot to this entire monetization engine getting streamlined.
Interesting. So just for my own clarity, so it's very similar to like a clubhouse host.
Yeah.
That is the person who's the moderator. They also have the power to get like the 6, 7, 8 people on the top who can speak, and then there are listeners.
Yeah.
And like the operations that you're talking about is basically I don't know, training the hosts or like acquiring hosts or something like that, like on those lines.
Yeah, on those lines.
Understood. Okay, got it. Cool. So like moving back from the org to the actual problem. So you figured out like out of the dating, talent and friends use case, you figured out the dating use case. The analogy that you do was offline world, a lot of gifting, people want to showcase their status. So probably that's going to work out. You build and like you want to do it in a microtransaction format because that's probably what people are going to pay for.
Yeah.
So you build some kind of product over here. So what was the product like, and like then what was your first launch experience? I mean, you kind of gave it away in the previous answer, but still like in the launch way.
So the first product was like essentially we had a host of gifts. So think of it like essentially it's like a monetary system where we had some coins, and by paying real money you can buy coins, and you can use these coins to give gifts. These gifts can be anything from roses to chocolate to teddy bears or whatever.
Like very typical offline gifts that you converted to online.
Yeah, so the gifts were also designed in the dating, like more in the dating context. Like the engagement ring was mostly, I think, the most expensive gift I remember. So I remember that Excel sheet where I had like filled all of these gifts. But so that was the basic flow. Like you pay money to buy coins, and you pay coins to get gifts, to give gifts. Basically.
Interesting. Yeah. So like slight detour. So I've always seen like in most of these virtual gifting or even gaming economies, there's usually a two-layered structure, right? Like there is a real money to some coins and a coins to the real gifts.
Yeah.
So why is that the case?
A part of it is regulation. So basically, you have two coin system because if you have one coin, you are essentially a wallet, and you need to take a wallet license in India.
Okay.
So that's the regulation part. And you have coins at all because you also want to control the economy. So essentially you are operating as a central bank.
Yeah.
Because let's say today 3 coins is 1 rupee. I think that's what we initially launched with. But tomorrow you want to control this, how this sort of equation changes based on how much money is flowing in the ecosystem. It was also a very interesting, I mean, I didn't expect learning central banking as a part of consumer social media, but yeah, like, the idea is that you need to have complete, in the in-game economy, you need to have complete control over how the money flows.
Interesting. So like, just trying to understand, usually economy has selling and reselling. So did you also have reselling? Like if you got
we didn't have reselling, but if you got a gift, then then you convert it to another currency called gems.
Okay.
And that gems eventually, there are some restrictions, but the gems you can eventually cash out.
So effectively, like in a dating context, if I think about it, you ask the guy to pay some real money, get some coins. From those coins, they'll buy some gift like a rose or a teddy bear or an engagement ring.
Yeah.
Give it to the girl that they like, and now this girl can effectively encash that for gems, which you can again like take out for cash.
Yes.
Yeah. So so there was not just one currency; there were two currencies. There was the coin and there was the gems.
Correct. Because like I said, one currency would require a wallet license, so you need two currencies.
Okay, so that's why the coins on the input side and the gems on the outflow side.
Correct.
And because now you have this in and out,
yeah,
now you want to control the money supply and hence the...
Correct.
Interesting, wow. I also didn't think that I'll probably discover this. So, great. So, post this, I think, yeah, you're talking about the first, you made this, you launched this. I know it was not successful, but like, what did you see? What were you trying to figure out?
It was not successful initially.
Initially.
It became a breakout success, which is why we're talking about.
Yeah.
But so I think we were seeing initially we were seeing some behaviors on gifting, but I think the major challenge was adoption. People were not purchasing coins as much, etc. Also. And I think one of the other things was that the chat room environments a lot of the time were also not vibrant enough where everyone could sort of gift, and because like I said, it's ultimately the gifting comes from the competitive nature of the chat room sort of product. So those were some of the parts. On the op side, like I said, the supply side, this was the exact thing that we needed to invest on, where we could also train the hosts who are interested in this sort of thing to communicate better, to sort of make the chat room engagement like very lively, right? So the host has to have the skill of a great MC, like a coordinator, event coordinator, etc. And that is not easy for a lot of people. I mean, it came naturally to a few, but like we had to scale that to a lot more people. So those were some of the things that initially we had to do. That was on the basic level. Even after that, we saw some, I mean, growth, but I think the major growth came after the launch of two features. So the first was chat room battles. So essentially, this was so you remember the friends use case, like people sort of coming at the same adda, etc. And TikTok had a product called TikTok Duet, where basically you can like you can challenge anyone for a duet. So we thought like why not like put this duet in this chat room context. So which basically meant that why should like one chat room not battle it out with another chat room, because anyway people have so much affinity towards their
own chat room.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and see if this leads to more gifting. So chat room battles, when we launched, it became a breakout success, and it started contributing more than 50% of the overall sort of gifting revenue.
So what was the like format like exactly? What do you mean battles?
Yeah, so battles is essentially, let's say you are a chat room host, I am another chat room host. You will send an invite to me for a battle. And if I accept that invite, for the next 15-20 minutes, like you select the time, we basically just see that who gets more gifts in the chat room. Like, because I am the host, as the host, like I am the host of the chat room, my chat room should get more.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, as a host, I need to now encourage like everyone who's a part of my system that this is your identity, and you need to gift to prove that like our chat room is better than theirs.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So I am. We had this section wars. So this is similar. Like section A is better than section B kind of stuff. I think happens in most colleges.
Yeah. Hostel 2, hostel 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, understood. So this was like but this doesn't seem like the dating use case. It's like
It's not a dating use case. I think the dating use case was the base, was the fundamental. But this was essentially capitalizing on a very different emotion.
So this is like maybe that friends use case that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So this feature helped more monetize the friends use case.
That's true. So I think the essential success of this feature was the friends use case, or that kind of motivation which came into play, rather than the dating motivation that came into play.
Got it. So you're saying, understood. So you also monetize the friends use case in this format?
Yeah.
And in the dating use case, at least I'm still not able to, still not there. Well, how did that break out? So we realized that you launched the gifts, but people were not very motivated.
Yeah.
But this feature at least probably put the idea in people's mind that gifting is a normal thing, and that accelerated the dating use case?
I don't think it was as much about gifting as the normal thing. I think, yes, there was some contribution to that. There were other factors, and now we are getting into a slightly fuzzy territory where you can't just pinpoint it to like one thing. But like the one other feature that became really successful was gamification, where we basically designed levels saying that if you gift X, you are upgrading your level, and with that upgrade you get something extra. So that something extra can be that you get a special skin in your chat bubble, you get a special crown when you're sitting on that audio seat and all of that, which is again monetizing status. So so for example, if someone has a Ferrari chat bubble, you know that they have spent at least like 20k odd coins over their course of like their sort of chat room journey to get that. So, and that's also, that signal is valid for the dating use case as well. So
got it.
So that was one reason. There was also, in this levels thing, there are also side features that we launched which became like very popular. So for example, there was something called a top supporter sort of leaderboard, which basically meant that across all chat rooms and even within a chat room, who were the top supporters of that chat room, and that was basically calculated by gifting.
Got it.
So that gifting essentially, that all of this combined, now we are not just talking about one feature, but all of this combined sort of led to a lot of gifting.
Interesting. So if I have to maybe structure it out, right? So there was the host, there was the audience, right? Like, so host and audience, let me just
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah.
So for the hosts, for them to be better at their work, A, you did the operational things that you were talking about.
Yeah.
B, you also started hosting these battles, and yeah, these were the two things, like, was train them, and like then also the battles, so that like at least gifting becomes a norm for them. And then there was the audience side, and on the audience side, what you did was again try to monetize status more, which was like primarily by giving them very clear status symbols, which like it's like similar to skins in like
In games.
most games, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so if you get that specific kind of a skin, that means you are much better, like you have at least paid something, and that makes you look cool in front of the other people who are there, right? Like
Yeah,
so
for sure.
so this is like and obviously in this context, what to gift, you still kept only dating kind of items, or now it has expanded to like a much bigger
No,
territory?
yeah, I think I don't remember the exact point, but yeah, along the journey it expanded to a much larger sort of set also, because there's also this, I mean, the friends behavior that you're talking about, like
Right.
one friend likes to show off their super bike to other friend, like that's also
Right.
an offline
Yeah,
like
yeah,
behavior,
yeah.
So we had such gifts also where friends can show off like between each other, nothing to do with dating, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you launched these three things. First was normal gifting. Second was battles. Third was gamification.
Status
Status-based gamification.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Like I know it broke out, but like how exactly to see it?
Yeah, so essentially from November mid onwards, we started seeing like a great upwards graph, and this was almost on a daily level. So I used to wake up, and the first thing I used to do was refresh the dashboard, and I used to see that at least 3-4% like the revenue would have sort of shot up, which essentially meant that we were growing more than like sort of 2x month on month, and this just like sort of kept on going like basically December was 2x November, Jan was 2x December, Feb was 2x, like and like it went on a sort of hyper exponential curve, yeah, so by I think by mid May or June we were already like the monthly run rate was already at a annualized 10 million ARR sort of scale.
So that's like less than 1.5 years.
Yeah, so September, so you can essentially say like September to May or June.
So it's less than a year, like
Yeah.
7. Oh, like, and from the launch of the product also, it was like less than a year.
Launch of the product was March, so
Yeah, so
15 months.
15
from
months
launch.
odd, right? Like yeah, so that's super
Yeah.
interesting. So like because we're talking monetization, like so some numbers will help. so how many of like these, like if you had 100 chat rooms, how many chat rooms were actually getting gifts? And even like when you look at the overall active base in the chat rooms, how many people were actually gifting? And I'm assuming most of them are males, but yeah, just walk me through a few of these.
Yeah, so if you see the consumer side of the funnel, essentially out of all chat room users, around 1% used to pay. These numbers are typical of like gaming apps, etc. as well. So
Okay.
And if you see gaming apps also have a lot of whales kind of a behavior.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people pay a lot, and there's a huge sort of power law there. So we saw a similar thing in chat rooms as well. Like there were people who were paying a lot of money sort of also daily, and like sort of tapering off from there. At one point, I think this was March 2021, if I'm not wrong, like we were seeing like an monthly revenue per paying user at around 3,500 rupees.
This monthly amount spent
Yeah.
was 3,500
Per paying user.
per paying user. Yeah, like that's quite. And like was it properly power law even within the paying users?
Yeah, even within the paying users, there was a strong power law.
Wow. So
there are definitely people who are spending upwards of 15,000-20,000 monthly.
probably more, like the power law, like if 3.5k is the average,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sure. So I don't know what was like. Do you know the highest amount spent in a month by some user, or like just?
I think I've seen numbers of like 80,000 at that point.
And this was purely digital gifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wow, super interesting. And like, just do you know, like, were you able to speak to these people and like probably get information that who they are? And
Yeah, we did. I mean, of course, user interviews. So, and we try to understand why are they gifting, what is motivating them to gift, and all of that also. Mixed emotions. I think like signaling for women was definitely the strongest motivation. and apart from that, we also saw just this ego for staying first on the leaderboard in terms of this, like, oh, I am the top gifter for this day, was also a very strong motivation for a lot of people. So they used to gift even for that. That's how a lot of people also knew them. So I know I have talked to people who became popular because they were the top gifters, like popular among the entire chat room audience.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And wow, so it's very very much like a status game, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy is the richest because he has
Yeah.
gifted the most.
Correct.
And what was like for most of these paying chat rooms, again, like percentage of paying chat rooms was also 1%?
Yeah, I think around same. I don't remember that number actually. Might have been around the same.
Got it. And like for most,
Maybe I think the chat rooms were lesser in number. So, and one chat room had a lot of people.
yeah,
like-
that's what I was about to go
so
to next. Like,
I think it was maybe around 10 to 12% of chat rooms used to get like paid basically.
got it.
Yeah.
And so like, and of a typical chat room that got paid, what was the audience size?
I think it was maybe somewhere between 200 to 500 per day
200 to 500.
people.
Wow. So I think I skipped a question which I probably should have asked at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But what was these groups mostly about? Like, I know the dating use case happened, so I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a lot of interactions. But like I know talents and friends, but like these kind of 500 kind of groups, what were they about?
So 500 is the number of people per chat room.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean it's like think of it like a 12 to 14 hour day.
Yeah.
So every hour there is like on an average basically 30-40 people sort of coming onto a chat room. So it's mostly like whenever you get free. I mean, of course it's not like a flat line, but like whenever you get free, you host a chat room. Your friends are there, you come. They call more people. Also, there was a way to discover chat rooms which are online, etc. as well. So anyone who is on the app at that point and is on the chat room page can go and join any of these chat rooms.
And what was like, so what was the use case? I'm like, so friends use case I can very clearly understand that.
Yeah.
I'm getting bored. I remember like a lot of
Similar,
Zoom calls in family.
Yeah.
But like for the ones who got more popular than the others, they can't just have like a niche within the community kind of use case, right? Like the use case will be a little more broader in my understanding.
Yeah, so I mean, there is also this. Okay, so there are also chat rooms which are more interesting than others, which drew more people.
And like, how are they interesting?
Yeah, so for example, like different kind of things. Like in some cases, you would see that they had the best music being played. So it, like think of it like a room where you are going and it's like a party where you are having great music. Right?
Okay.
So that's one. The other example is there was this chat room which every night they had this. Everyone used to do like role playing of Bharat. Like there was one Bharati, like there was one groom, there was one bride, there was groom ka father, groom ka mother types.
And they did like impromptu drama.
Yeah, impromptu drama.
Oh.
So a lot of people came to that chat room. I was also there listening. कि क्या चल रहा है.
Yeah.
So
Dog fooding.
Yeah, good. Like super interesting because and then that also led to new strangers making newer friends through this chat room. So
Okay. So there were like entertainment use cases primarily, and like they might have started with just friends doing something, but like some of them where the hosts were probably a little more creative, they were able to scale the entertainment forms into something which was niche about them, and then other people used to join ki like what's so good about the chat room.
Yeah.
I'm assuming your discovery also helped that process.
correct. Like one chat room, I remember everyone used to took the role of a dry fruit.
Huh?
There was a kaju, there was a kismis, like
Like what kind of conversations do Kaju and Kishmish have? Like that was the idea.
Yeah, that was the idea. Yeah, full fun. So essentially.
So entertainment was like the
major
biggest use case,
Yeah.
and now if you're a witty person, like an MC, a witty MC, so like those were the hosts who were like who would get the most amount of money.
Yeah.
Wow, very very interesting. So like I was reading that some article about why different social medias work, and they kind of reward the top users for different kind of talents.
Yes.
So I think like at least for this chat room,
Yeah,
top
every
talent,
every social media platform has its own status hierarchy.
correct.
Like basically, and for chat rooms as a space, that was predominantly driven from entertainment.
Yeah.
Because it's also a product which is, I mean, solves for loneliness or solves for connection in that way. Like you're getting bored, you want to like get some entertainment. So
Interesting.
so that was the essential idea.
Yeah. I think this is like from that article, Status as a Service
Yeah.
by Eugene Vai, right?
Yeah.
So like it's again interesting. So for most of the audience that you had, like the reason I'm talking about this is like as a user of Clubhouse, my like even I was bored and I was also trying to explore, but usually the kind of chat rooms that I went to were like I think there were a lot of Musk dominated chat rooms at least back then, and then there were some product growth chat rooms and like very work oriented chat rooms. Obviously there was a lot of romance over there also,
There
but
were a
like,
lot of kill, marry, hookup chat rooms also.
Yeah, exactly. Which I probably like. I think the algorithm probably did not surface them to me because I probably skipped through them.
Yeah.
But like that was the use case. So what you were saying that primarily it was entertainment all the way, or like were there other use cases as well?
No, it was entertainment. Like even if you come back to the original three use cases, like
Yeah.
it can be clubbed into sort of an entertainment in general. Like there is, I mean, in this category of social products, there is something called just chatting. So just chatting is an entire category of social products where you just chat like with with the person. So it can be a video live, like a lot of video lives are just chatting where the host is like just responding to comments, no specific agenda, like conversation, etc. So that was also a part of this, but I would also put it as in the broader umbrella of entertainment use case because ultimately it's entertainment for the audience.
Got it. Cool. So how's the product doing now?
Yeah, so after that journey, it did became a breakout success, and now I think it's a $50 million ARR plus product. We also launched video lives. This was just audio, and so I think that also led to like more revenue. So somewhere between 50 to 70 is what I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Epic. And like if I had to make you reflect back and say that like what were some 10x levers for this product that you wanted to experiment with but couldn't because of time limitations, what would they be? Or the potential even in the future?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones was making this product global. We thought it was a very like geography agnostic product because the needs that we mentioned are unanimous across people. It was not just India specific. So we thought there was a monetizable segment even in Middle East, Latin America. In fact, later someone did reach out to me who was trying to build this in Latin America. So so I think global potential much more helpful and also would have helped increase our ARPU revenue per paying user also like quite a bit compared to India. So that was one. Second, we launched Ludo, Tic-Tac-Toe, etc. But they were at that point they were not the right form factors. But I do believe that there is a lot of potential in the entire gaming space. We have seen Ludo King, etc. as well, which came from a Ludo first way of going into chat rooms, and we were like a chat rooms first way of going into Ludo, so we could have sort of done that. And on the dating front, I think the other thing that we could have potentially explored was a matchmaker induced sort of dating, which also solves for women's safety and trust in an online setting and could have been useful in this segment. So yeah, some of these projects were closer to my heart in terms of the 10x bets.
Interesting. And like maybe I think you mentioned this idea of internationalization. Before that, even in the let's say what I'm trying to understand is like why are the Tinders and Bumbles of the tier one India not trying to do something similar? Like usually their interface is very visual or like or maybe not taking the right insights. Like because one of the biggest problem that all dating apps keep continuously talking about is like the women's safety, and that's kind of the big problem that you were able to solve to start off with, right? That's why the use case became so big.
Yeah.
So like any takes on why this is not like something which is, I mean, their product strategy is fundamentally different, etc. But like why not at least try this out?
I think the product becomes the major sort of factor here. Like if you see Tinder, Bumble, they are also visual products, but like something like a Hinge, etc., has a lot of text and textual prompt as a way of talking to sort of or engaging with people. And this entire audience is not a text first audience. So if you see their WhatsApp messages also, they are mostly voice notes and not like text. So anything which is more text first is definitely not sort of going to work. The second thing is even
Sorry for interrupting. My question was more that this has definitely worked in tier 2 India.
yeah.
Do you think the same insights can be taken and put to tier 1 India? Right? Like, that's kind of what I'm trying to. Like, it's not the other way around, because I kind of understand why that will not work. Like,
Yeah, I mean Clubhouse did have that to an extent, which was tier 1 India, or
Yeah.
like even not India but like US, etc.
internationally, yeah.
And there was dating going on in Clubhouse, like kill, marry, hook up, etc. Maybe where Clubhouse went wrong, I would say, is that they didn't restrict the number of speakers. At some point it became like too large a podium for anyone to come and talk, and which is great for a general setting but maybe not great in the dating setting, because you need to create a status hierarchy to sort of
Interesting. So
do
you still
dating.
believe that there is a clubhouse for dating waiting to happen internationally?
Yeah, potentially. I do think there is potential there. There is also this sort of challenge. So again, the point that we mentioned earlier on how offline meeting is a taboo,
Yeah.
also puts more onus on the online products and gives more benefit to the online products in terms of extending the entire dating journey, right?
Right.
So it's not just whether you met a person.
Yeah.
Like it's also like you met a person, you talk to them a few times, you realize they are not a creep, etc. And then you would potentially sort of talk to them on a one-on-one setting in a tier 2 setting. In a Clubhouse or a tier 1 kind of a setting, maybe like that journey gets shortened online. So that is the challenge that these products face in this segment.
So maybe long-term retention can be.
Yeah, I have one conversation with you, and then maybe I'll exchange my Instagram handles, and then then I'm off the platform, right?
Yeah.
So then I'll go text first again. Like then I will not stay voice first, because again the tier 1 audience is not voice.
So it's a discovery platform, but not a retention platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So yeah, and which is what happened with Clubhouse also. I think you discovered a lot of
Yeah.
people, let's say,
Yeah.
with Clubhouse
Yeah.
generally.
But the retention was the big problem for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Got it. Probably a little too in-depth a conversation in terms of this product, but super happy that I was able to understand a lot of nuances of this product. I take just one question, like where can people reach you? Yeah, your creds.
Yeah, I'm available on LinkedIn and Twitter. Like my handles will be in the comments. So.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much for watching till the end. We really hope that you did not find it like other Gyan podcasts. And like we tried to go into a lot of reasonable depth, put Nishad in like multiple tough spots. And yeah, that's it. Like if you have any other question for Nishad, like regarding chat rooms or share chat or anything that he has done in general, please feel free to put in the comments. We'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, there were some tough spots there. So thanks, Ayush. I'm looking forward to having you in my seat next week. But yes, we want to bring out stories of people who have done great work in terms of scaling products or any function and created like 10x impact. So do let us know their names in comments, and we will reach out to them. Until then, this is Adios from the Great Work Podcast. Keep doing great work. Bye bye.
Bye bye.